Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hope. My name is Tammy Lynn Connors, and this is my YouTube channel and podcast, helping other people evolve. I have my good friend Reggie on here again today. Hi, Reggie. How are you?
Hey, so good to be back. How you doing?
Yeah, it's nice to have you back. And that's what I love. At the end of my podcast, usually I tell people, don't worry, I'm going to have you back so we can see, where life's going and things like that. How's the weather in Chicago area?
I mean, it's Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up and down, but it's about 30-ish right now, and actually that in Chicago, that's hot. So
Right, right, for December, right?
we're gonna get hit with it pretty soon.
Yeah, I know we are always like, oh, December and it's still nice. And then January hits and you're like, oh no. So
Exactly.
for those of you that don't know what Hope is, my mission and vision with this project that I'm doing is just to help other people know they don't struggle alone. I feel like so many people are at home feeling like they struggle by themselves. And if they can hear someone else's story of hope, the struggle that they went through to get to a strength, then maybe that day they'll be able to get out of bed. And that's just my mission and vision with Hope. Now, I interviewed Reggie, geez, I don't even know how long ago it was. 6 months ago, maybe. When did your book come out?
Last year.
Yeah, so it's been a while. Time goes so quick, doesn't it? I always say don't let it pass you by, but boy, it can go like that. So Reggie had a book that he launched last year, and I know that Reggie shared with us on our last podcast, some of the struggles that he went through, but he's come to a strength. And today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that he's doing in the city, a new book that he has coming out, and also I really want to talk a little bit on mental health check, especially through the holidays. We can go through that a little bit, but so if you want to share with everybody kind of, you've done a lot since I talked to you back in a year ago, so it's really growing. And I know you have a coat drive, you said, coming up this Sunday. So let's go ahead and chat about that a little bit.
So, a lot has changed since we last talked, which I'm thankful for. I feel like I'm always blessed with opportunities and things that happens in my life, especially from all I've been through. If anybody checked out the last show that we did together a year ago, I've been through a lot when it comes to, homelessness, incarceration, things like that, stuff that I probably could have changed because of my thinking, but it happened, right? So now, I'm doing a lot. So of course, we're doing a Thinking Outside the Box podcast, still going strong for another season over there at the Indie Network. But we are doing a coat drive this Sunday, which we're really proud about, giving a lot of coats back to the community, to the homeless people, feeding food and things like that. And it's important because in Chicago, like I said, it gets real cold, but in Chicago, the rate of homelessness increases a lot. A lot of people still don't feel like they want to go to homeless shelters or things like that for food and shelter. But, we like to think that we can give people like a hope, where
Right.
I don't have to feel judged. Come get you a coat, come get you some food and things like that, right? So that's going on this Sunday, the 18th, 7209 Roosevelt Road in Forest Park. If anybody's in Chicago and the surrounding areas, come through at 12 o'clock, get you a coat, man, meet the guys, get a good word, get some food, everything like that. And, enjoy yourself, man, because as you just mentioned, seasonal depression is very, very, very prevalent right now. People are going through it. Even me, like I miss my mom, I miss, certain things like that, my family. So of course you think about all the good times, how it used to be when you was growing up, and you see on social media, everybody with their family and their friends. So, it can really depress you. So definitely reaching out to your loved ones and saying, hey, happy holidays. Just want to make sure you're good. Hey, look, I don't need no money. I just want to call and say, hey, because
Yeah. And that's so true. And what you said, Reggie, which really hit with me is we don't know what people are going through, right? And the social media. So you look at social media, and social media is kind of a love-hate relationship for me. I love it because I feel like I can share my hope and I can share my struggles to strength. But so many people are out there and all you see is the beauty of their life, right? And it makes some people look like, man, my life sucks. My life's not like that. And their life probably isn't either. I hate to say it like that, but people just put the highlight reels out there on social media. They don't put the real life out there. And the comparison for people is hard. And especially through the holiday time, like you said, you lost your mom. And I know, that struggle's been real for you. I mean, you were very young. How old were you when you found your mom?
18.
How old? 18. Yeah. So, and people are like, And some people are like, oh, you should get over it, you know, all the things. And it's like, no, grief is grief and you don't ever get over it. I just posted because it'd been 30 years ago that I lost my son to SIDS. And, you know, some years are harder than other years, but I say, you know, we always have that hole in our heart. That piece is always going to be missing. You know, there's nothing that will ever fill that, you know, and sometimes it's harder than other times. And I think it's important to know that for people, and to know that, yes, people are showing their highlight reels. You know, I spoke to you a little bit, you know, unfortunately today, the world lost Twitch. Okay. Some people know who he was. Some people don't. My son, I messaged him. I messaged him this morning. I just said, I love you. And he's like, I love you too. And I said, so sad about Twitch. He's like, who's Twitch? Right. And then I told him, and then he remembered who that was. And I looked at Twitch, like he was on the Ellen show. He was dancing. He was smiling. He was always happy. And here this man was so sad and so broken mentally that, you know, he committed suicide today. And it's not something that we need to keep quiet about. You know, people need to know mental health is important. And I really think, and I've talked to you about this before, mental health in men to me is so important. And I don't know if it's because I had sons and that's why, but man, and especially, I mean, in your community, I hear it all the time that keep it quiet, keep it quiet. So maybe you could speak on mental health a little bit, because I know you've struggled some a little bit.
Yeah, so mental health for me is very important. And, you know, I talk about it a lot on the Thinking About Outside the Box podcast. And I actually teach a class about it too throughout the week. Mental health has a lot of faces, right? It doesn't have to just mean, you know, you're psychotic or you're crazy or, you know, you're depressed. It could mean stress, anxiety, isolation, PTSD, you know, it could be missing a loved one. It could be not having a job. It could mean, you know, having all these kids and not being able to feed them. It could be, it's so many things that people go through, you know, being a felon, not able to get a quality job, you know. So the reason I talk about it a lot is because, like you said, it happens a lot in our community, especially with men, because men have such a boulder on our shoulders, right? We gotta provide, protect. We gotta, you know, we can't cry. We men. We gotta, you know, we going through emotions. We gotta, you know, suck it up and be tough. You know, so that happens a lot. So what I would recommend, you know, it's good to reach out to people. You know, reach out to people and just do a temperature check. Right, there's a show called Temperature Check before, just to check on them. And then another thing with mental health is, we see it a lot. Like you say, Twitch took his life, you know, even other people, you know, famous, you know, Robin Williams or Heath Ledger, you know, people that's have so much fame, money, you know, you would think they're on top of the world, but mentally they're broken and they feel they need to take their life. So having the accolades and the success and the money, it's great, but still, you know, people are going through things. So it's always good to check on people.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I didn't know that you did a weekly meeting. That's awesome. Yeah, that's good. No, and I love the fact that you talk about, okay, so you're doing a coat drive, you're thinking outside the box, you work with people with mental health. So what you've taken from your struggles and turned into a strength is you're helping other people. And that's so cool to me, because, you know, so many people, they'll go through things and they'll get through a struggle and they'll get to a strength and then they just keep it to themselves, where you're paying it back, basically. Like, you're like, okay, I've learned through life. You've definitely learned, you know, like you said, homeless, you've been incarcerated, you lost your mom, you know, you've been through some struggles for real. And you could have just been like, okay, I made it. I'm just going to sit on my couch and watch some TV, the Bears and the Lions. I'm just kidding. I had to do it.
We're gonna get them back next year. Okay, we got.
You're probably right. But you know, you could just be sitting at home doing nothing with it. You know, just like, hey, I survived. I'm good. But you're giving back, and I think that's so important, because I just was on a Zoom the other day with a friend of mine who's very well off in society and helping people. And her biggest thing is, you can't be selfish. You got to be selfless. You know, and the giving back is such. The gratitude I get just from making that phone call to somebody that maybe that day they were struggling and that's why they came across my mind. And they messaged me back, said, hey, thank you for that message. I needed it right now. I actually had a friend a few years ago, 2 years ago now, I think it was. She came across my mind. I saw it on Facebook, but nothing like damaging. It was just kind of a post. And I sent her a message, hey, I've been thinking about you. How are you? Reggie, she was sitting on her bed contemplating suicide at that moment.
Mhm.
And she was like, she's like, I was just praying to God, like, send me something. She's like, I love my son so much. And I didn't want to leave this world or leave him, but I was at the point that I was ready. And your message changed all of that. And now she's doing well. It's just, you never know, that one message, that one smile, that one look that can help somebody. And what you're doing is amazing. And I love it. I love it. So for those of you that don't know, I'm planning on coming to a show one of these days. I'm going to jump in my truck and drive to Chicago and show up on his show, which I'm excited about. But so you told me another exciting thing is you have a new book coming out.
Yes. So The Pursuit of Moving Forward was the first book I wrote. It was pretty much highlighting everything I've been through in life, and events that took place that lead me to the results that I had to go through. And then at the end of the book, it was a little twist. So now the twist is the part two. So I wrote The Pursuit of Moving Forward 2. And this one is a little different than the first one. The first one was more of a just welcoming you to who I am, what I've been through. It was like a story mode being told. This one is a lot more in depth, okay? More recent things that's happened. And throughout the book, it's also given like life lessons about, how to learn from this, how to cope with that. How not to turn to drugs and alcohol with this, how not to, turn to certain triggers, how to turn to prayer and things like that. So it's like a story, but like a teaching type of book.
That's
And
good.
I was a little nervous to let this one out because I'm really exposing some stuff that I did. But I think that's what life is about, right? Life is about moving forward, right? It's the name,
Mhm.
and learning from your mistakes and not making the same mistakes that you did before. So I'm really excited about it. It's coming out in April of next year, so everything's ready. I'm just trying to let it come on out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that you kind of repeated yourself, because you said in your first book, it was a little bit hard for you to share some of those things and actually publish it and have people see it. Now you went a little deeper, but it's amazing that fear, as it's called, and face everything and run, maybe it could be fear sometimes, or I can't remember the other acronym for it. Darn it. Feelings aren't real. Anyways, yeah, feelings aren't real. Something like that. But it's facing those fears. But here's the thing that you said again, your story will help somebody else. And I mean, even if it's just one person, imagine the change that one person went to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. And I know David Goggins talks about it in one of his books. He says, your story should be on a billboard. Put it on a billboard for people to see. Trent Shelton says, your transparency will lead to someone else's transformation. And for us sharing our stories of a struggle that, sometimes I'm sharing mine too. And I'm like, ugh. Like my book, I'm like, my son does not need to read that book. And he probably won't, because he's like, Mom, I know your life anyways. I'm like, that's good. You can just go ahead and know it like that. But when we share those things, it's like, and it's the same with my H.O.P.E podcast, it's just to let people know that they're not alone. What you've done or what you're going through, somebody else has probably went through it and probably went through worse. When I'm on here and I'm sharing my story, or I'm like, whatever I've went through, and I've been through a lot, but then I hear your story and I'm like, shit, I ain't been through nothing. That's kind of how it feels, but it's getting our stories out there. And I think it's awesome that you're doing that again. I'm excited for you.
Right in, and I'm ready to continue to keep moving forward with this, because I feel like it's needed in our community and needed around the world, period. Right. And then, like I said, I do a radio show with Windy City Underground, actually here now. But yeah, just being able to have a platform. That's why I like to have a platform on the radio, on the podcast, going out speaking, different things, cold drives. Anytime I have an opportunity to have a platform or a stage to talk to people and just get a bit of information out, I feel like it is complete, especially from where I come from, that's really important.
So your radio show Underground, what is that about?
So Windy City Underground, it's a radio network here.
Okay.
and it's great, man. Do the shows weekly, but I think the more important thing is help cultivating people who wants to get into radio and media. Shout out to Illinois Media School as well. You know, to take that next step into being into broadcasting, being into editing and film work and camera work and radio and things like that, right? So the show that we do, we talk a lot about, like I already have a sports podcast, the Bars and Buckets podcast, which is on YouTube. But you know, being able to talk about sports and the
Mhm.
events that's happening in the sports news, you know, with Brittany Griner or, you know, just things that, you know, because sports has a kind of like a face of just being all about game day and
Mhm.
stats and touchdowns and, you know, but people don't talk about the stuff that goes on, like the Brittany Griner situation, you know,
Right.
or, you know, for, I don't know, you know, like back in the day when Michael Vick was going through his thing, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like the other part of it, the Deion Sanders situation, you know, so there's not like a lot of platforms for that. So we do that as well. But like I said, I'm very versatile and talking about a lot of stuff, but of course I love the sports too. So
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm just so excited. I'm so blessed that I've met you. I don't remember how it came across. Maybe you were promoting your book or something. I don't even know, but I came across you on Facebook and I always tell people, you know, God puts people in my lives for a reason, or our lives for reasons. And I'm super excited just to be on this journey with you because I feel like we're on a journey together. You know, I talked a little bit about, I'm going to be doing what we call a night of hope. I haven't talked about it at all till just now on here. So I'm going to be doing a night of hope where I'm going to be going through different cities throughout the United States and having people share, you know, their stories of hope. And my vision with that is to, you know, raise some money for nonprofits in the area. So, you know, I'm sure that you have some nonprofits that you work with. And so I'm super excited to do that with you. And, you know, I'm excited to come to your show. I can't wait to do that. We'll get that figured out. I'm excited for your new book. And when I come to your show, I'm going to have to get your other book because I
oh
need an
yeah,
autograph
are you
book.
gonna get both?
Well, no, I hope to be there before April,
Oh yeah,
but
for sure, for sure.
and so, you know, I'm just excited for the journey that you're on. I think that you are a blessing to your community, Reggie. You know, I know that it's hard to take that like thank yous a lot of times, you know, and I'm just, you know, a lot of times you're just like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But, you know, kudos to you for stepping out of the box and taking that step and doing that, because I'm sure that there was fear there, like, is this going to work? You know, is this, you know, what I'm supposed to be doing? But and you just keep going, and I love it, you
Yeah,
know.
I
So
appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. And like you said, you know, for everybody, you know, check on your friends, check on your strong friends. You know, your strong friends are the ones that are out there, you know, smiling, doing life, and you know, here we are. And some days, you know, the struggle's real. You know, we
Yeah.
don't we don't have great days every day. We try to, but it doesn't necessarily always happen. I do have a friend of mine though. He's like, I always have a great day, and I'm like, well, lucky you. But he
Uh,
really does, though. He really truly does. But he's been through too, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so it's just important to check on our friends, especially through the holidays, like you said. You know, what I'll do for everybody on here is I'll put exactly where you're having your coat drive this weekend. So that way people know about it. I'm going to launch this podcast today so people know and, you know, where to find you on YouTube and you're outside the box and all of those things.
yeah.
So
We'll
is
be
there
on.
anything you'd like to say to anybody before we wrap it up?
Like I said, just like I said, holiday season is here, you know, and I think that during this time, like I say, seasonal depression is real, but also we're coming into a new year, right? So
Mhm.
every time a New Year's Eve comes, people like, you know, new year, new me. I'm gonna do this different. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna save. I'm gonna cut off my toxic girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. You know, I mean, I just encourage people like, look, man, you know, tomorrow isn't promised. I feel like a lot of times when we try to make these, you know, goals and plans for our life, you know, we thinking of it as like, I want to do this for me, knowing I deserve better. But
Mm,
it shouldn't have to be New Year's Eve for that. You see what I'm
right,
saying? I
right.
think like any situation, it could be any day that you know what you deserve and just stick to it. I think one of the biggest things that we do as people, men and women, we procrastinate. You know,
Mhm.
we set these goals, we gonna do it, then you know, we still in the same situation, you know, or we say we're gonna get up in the morning, we're gonna go work out, we're gonna put this body together, we still in the bed at 10, 11 o'clock. And you know what I'm saying? It's like we want to do better, but sometimes our mind and our mental won't let us. So just stick with it, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, Thinking Outside the Box podcast, it's TOTB underscore show on YouTube. The Points in Perspective, WPOP, is on Windy City Network, right? So we talk about sports on there. Getting ready to do that in a sec. Doing that. Non-Society podcast, Bars and Buckets, sports and other sports. Like, I do a lot of the podcasts and radio because I feel like when you find in life, not only that what you're good at, but what you're passionate about, I feel like you should go for it, whatever it is,
Yeah.
Even last time we talked, I feel like, I mentioned about the strippers. If you want to strip, go on out there, put your best foot forward, you know what I'm saying, and go for it, So,
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you're good at and you're passionate about, do, man, because life is too short and you don't want to get wrapped up in a career where you dread going and
Oh,
it's right. So follow
yeah.
you, man. So that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to say something when you said that about New Year's Eve, and, everybody's like, I'm going to start my workout on Monday. Well, why don't you start on Saturday? It doesn't matter. The day ends in Y. It doesn't matter. But the biggest thing with that is you said that, that people, then they start and then they procrastinate and then they get upset at themselves. They self-sabotage, they do all the things. But all I can say to everybody is give yourself grace. So if you didn't get up today and do it, then do it tomorrow. Give yourself grace though. Don't beat yourself up and think you're a failure because you didn't get up that day and do it. There's tomorrow, hopefully. But hopefully. But just give yourself some grace. I think that's a lot of it too. So, well, Reggie, I appreciate you getting on here with me. I hope that you have a very Merry Christmas and we will chat real soon. Okay.
Thanks again, man. I enjoyed myself.
Thank you so much. And everybody, thank you for jumping on Hope. Have an amazing day and a Merry Christmas. Thank you.